See, I may not know the color of the sand on Mars, but brother, I can tell you why the cage bird sings no matter what the weather brings. 'Cause he can fly, oh, and so can I.
And even though he cries his tears, the words he sings you may not hear. He sees the sunlight like his own, his soul got him home.
I can't fight no wars for money, ego or pride. I pray one day love becomes the bullet that just blows the world away. And we say freedom, oh, freedom, freedom.
I see the Maadian family in the building. What up, family? Let's get this show out. Get the word out that I'm live, family. Let's go.
All the blues and bitter rain, I know that somehow seasons change. The color purple has a way of blessing us with better days. We've gotta heal, sister, I'm for real.
Inside of each and every one lies the memories of where we're from. Pyramids amongst the stars is who we are.
Keep in mind the only jail is just the prison of ourselves. The truth lies in our footsteps, so we must never look away. We must pray freedom. Oh, freedom. Freedom.
Thumb up the video, family. Thumb up the video. Let's share this video, family, on your social media pages. Throw it in our chat, text message groups.
It's all right to love yourself. It's all right to love your brothers.
You hear what he said? It's all right to love yourself. It's all right to love your brother. It's all right to love your sister. It's all right to love each other. Ashe. Throw an Ashe in the chat, family, if you hear me. Ashe, Ashe. I see y'all Ashes in the chat, family. Peace and love, black family. Peace and love to my audience family. I keep telling you all I'm going to get you some t-shirts, right? I keep saying I'm going to get you some t-shirts. Peace and love to the audience family. Welcome to another powerful discussion with your sister, Dr. Maat. You just heard the song Freedom by Fertile Ground. Shout out to Fertile Ground. Fertile Ground was a group that was established in Baltimore City some decades ago. It was like a jazz neo soul type of group, and I was a huge fan of them when I was in my 20s. I used to listen to them, you know, in my early days of college, and when they performed in Baltimore, I would try to figure out where they were performing and show up and show out. And I love the group. I absolutely love that group. And so shout out to Fertile Ground. Check out the album that they have called Seasons Change. It's actually on YouTube, so you can check it out at your leisure for free, right? And so anyway, the name Fertile Ground actually came from the brother who founded it. His name is James Collins. Shout out to James Collins. He took a trip to Kemet, or ancient Egypt, with Dr. Patricia Newton, and peace be upon her soul. She just transitioned in 2021. And so when he went to Kemet with her, he came back with the idea to name his group Fertile Ground, Ashe, because they say that about the soil in Kemet, Ashe. And so that's how they got the name. But anyway, family, welcome to another powerful discussion. Do me a favor right now and thumb up the video, family. Thumb up this video. And then also, family, sharing is caring, right? Share this video. share this video. Today, I am going to be discussing the disturbing captions on these Alabama Riverfront Brawl videos, right? I've been seeing a lot of disturbing captions on the videos and on the memes, and so I definitely want to unpack that. Family, I also want to discuss I'm sorry, I meant to say DeSantis, he suspended the only black female state attorney in Florida. And so he's trying to get rid of her. And the reason he used the excuse, he basically said she wasn't prosecuting enough black people. Oh, I'm sorry. She wasn't prosecuting enough people, Ashe. And so he's using that excuse to get rid of that, to suspend her, the state's attorney. And so anyway, family, we're going to unpack that tonight. And I won't be before you long, but I will be strong. What up to the Queen Mother in the building? I see you, a beautiful mind. She says, hello, peace to the black family. Ashe. I see Nana is in the building. Nana says peace and blessings to all. I see the Melanated Cafe is in the building. Peace and black power to your warrior. I see Juicy Fruit is in the building. Juicy Fruit said, what it do? In that Baltimore accent, what it do? I see Brother Frank is in the building. He said, ready to take the son to the movies, but I will be catching it later. Peace, Dr. Maat, our Queen Warrior Teacher. Peace and love to you, Brother Frank. So happy you dropped in and dropped a note to me. I see Yazim Bell is in the building. I actually just saw your friend request on Facebook. And so I responded, Yasmin, but peace and love to you. I see you, Queen. Who else do we have? Oh, those were the Ashes. Who else do we have in the building? I see Esso. I think this is my brother from the Togo. Peace and love to you. Say hi, our beautiful queen. Oh, yeah. It's your brother from Togo that has come back. Be strong and steadfast. Ashe warrior. Peace and love to you. Peace and love to you. All right, family. So let's get into it. Well, first of all, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge our Flag Day. Happy Flag Day, family. I almost was just getting ready to get into the topic, but happy Flag Day, family. Today on August the 13th, 1920, so 103 years ago, this is when Marcus Garvey and the UNIA revealed the Pan-African flag, or some people say the RBG flag or the Liberation flag, that was given to us on August the 13th, 1920, 103 years ago. Hold on, I gotta drop a bomb for brother Nana. I said Nana Marcus Garvey, the Honorable Marcus Garvey. I gotta drop a bomb, and I'm looking for it. I gotta drop a bomb for the UNIA. Hold on. Fire! 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 Woo! Shout out to Marcus Garvey and the UNIA for the RBG flag, the Pan-African flag, the Liberation flag. That was our flag, family. That is our flag, Ashe. And so I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge Flag Day. So happy Flag Day, family. And you already know the significance. You remember back then, white folks were making fun of us. Remember, they say you all don't have a flag. The Negro, the nigga, they don't have flags. They even made a song. I don't want to play it, but you all can go to YouTube and type in it. The Negro has no flag, right? And I'm saying Negro, but you know what they said, right? And they were joking us like, you don't have a flag and, and stuff like that. And so anyway, the UNIA came back and was like, here's a flag. But not only here's a flag for the black person in America, or the African, as I say all the time, the African in America, but this is a flag that unites all of Africans, all Africans, no matter where they are, whether they're on the continent or throughout the diaspora. So this is our flag. And so on August the 13th, 1920, they were out there, the UNIA, they were out there with their flags, Ashe. And so happy Flag Day to the black family. And so anyway, family, let's jump into this. Let's jump into this discussion. You probably said, well, what is Dr. Maat talking about? So I'm online and I'm looking at all of these different videos, right? And and it was funny. Let me be honest. First and foremost, I saw a lot of reenactments of the Alabama waterfront. I keep saying waterfront, but Riverfront Brawl. A lot of reenactments, a lot of commentary on it. People put music behind it, showing the black men who helped out as Avengers and heroes. And so I'm not gonna lie. When that fight happened on August the 5th, the internet was on fire the whole week. And I had a good time. I was staying up in my bed 1:00 in the morning laughing. Literally, I couldn't even put my phone down. I was laughing at all of the videos and the memes and the reenactments and stuff like that. And so it was cool. But there were a couple of things that I saw that I didn't like, a couple of captions that I saw. One caption was, "We are not our ancestors." That's a problem for me. That's a problem for me because what that does is it signifies, right, that there's some, I guess, I don't want to say bad blood, but that signifies or indicates that there's some sort of negative perception, right, of our ancestors. We say, I ain't my ancestors, so it indicates, or that statement is indicative, right, of people who are operating with a negative perception of our ancestors. A shout out to brother Akil Parker. You all can go to YouTube and type in Dr. Maat and Akil Parker, "We are not our ancestors," because I addressed this almost a year ago. Firstly, we are our ancestors. We would not be here without our ancestors, period. And I'm not talking about just biologically. I'm talking about the spaces that we're in and the things we are able to do today. We are able to do these things because of their sacrifices, right? And so we are our ancestors. We are the sum total of our ancestors. And I want to say this, your ancestors, when people typically think about an ancestor, they think about someone who's deceased. No, an ancestor is also your predecessor. So your parent, if your mother, your mom or dad are still living, they are your predecessor. They are your ancestor. But typically when we say ancestor, we say it in the context of someone who transitioned. But it also applies to people who are living amongst us, who preceded us, right, in birth. Ashe? And so we are our ancestors. And so when people say things like, "I'm not my ancestors," first of all, is indicative that you're operating with a negative perception of our ancestors. And then two, you sound so ungrateful. I'm going to say that again. When we hear things, when you use the phrase, "I am not my ancestor," you detach. So you're detaching yourself from our ancestors. That means you harbor, right, a negative perception of our ancestors, and you're ungrateful. You're ungrateful because a lot of the things that we're doing today, we are able to do them because of our ancestors, because of their sacrifices. But let me tell you what they were really saying. What they were also really saying is that they're ignorant of our history. And they also had this perception that our ancestors were weak or soft. "I ain't my ancestors. We kick your ass. We ain't our ancestors." There was nothing weak about our ancestors. Our ancestors are, and that's because when we speak of those who transition, we speak of them in the present tense because we as Africans understand that they are still with us. That our ancestors are warriors. See, we weren't supposed to survive enslavement, family. We weren't supposed to survive Reconstruction. We weren't supposed to survive Jim Crow. We weren't supposed to survive the civil rights movement. We weren't supposed to survive Black Power movement. We weren't supposed to survive when they flooded the communities with drugs in the late 70s and 80s. We weren't supposed to survive mass incarceration. We survived because of that warrior spirit that is prevalent in Black people. Ashe, that same warrior spirit that we saw at the Alabama Riverrfront Brawl. Put an Ashe in the chat if you hear what I'm saying to you. So when you say, "I ain't my ancestors, I ain't weak, I ain't," there was nothing weak about our ancestors. See, what that also tells me is that we really you're seeing the ramifications or the consequences of the fool system, the miseducation system, right? Because it's not an educational system, right? So I call it either the public fool system, or I call it the indoctrination boot camp, or I call it the miseducation system, because what our children receive is not education, it's miseducation, right? It's indoctrination, right? Or you might say brainwashing institutions, but that's what they are. And so because we've sent our children, because our children have matriculated through the fool system, they are operating with a negative perception of self. They think our ancestors were weak, they were soft. They think that everyone adopted the nonviolent strategy that Dr. King got from what's his name? Gandhi, right? That he adopted from Gandhi. But they think in their minds that everyone was nonviolent. And that's not true. Ever since we stepped foot on the shores of North America, we always fought. That's why when DeSantis said that no one questioned slavery until 1776 during the American Revolution, I said he needs to sit in my class. And I asked you all to send him my shows. Maybe he needs a link to this platform, because I know the Maadian family who's in the building know that that's a flat out lie. We had maroon communities established as early as the 1600s. The runaways, the maroons, everywhere that there was slavery, there were maroon communities. Maroons left. We left the plantation. We ran away from the plantation. Sometimes it was for a short period of time. Sometimes it was for a long period of time. They call it petite maroonage or maronage. I always say maroonage, but it's maroonage or maronage or grand maronage. So short term and long term. We established whole communities. Shout out to Jamaica. Jamaica had one of the largest. They had so many maroon communities set up in Jamaica. It was ridiculous. And I had an opportunity, and shout out to my aunt Segment who's in the building. Letitia, my aunt Segment, and I, when we went to Jamaica 2 weeks ago, we went to a compound town, which is a maroon site that's in the mountains. It took us 3 hours to get up there. And their sovereign and their leader was Cudjoe. I believe he was the brother of Queen Nanny. Come on, y'all. So miss me with this whole idea that our ancestors were soft and weak. Not only did our ancestors flee and establish our own communities, shout out to the Great Dismal Swamp. Oh, Dr. Maat is teaching today. She's teaching today. The Dismal Swamp, those Black Seminoles. See, I'm teaching today. So it was not only did we flee from the plantations, we went back to the plantations and we burned them down. The maroons kicked their tails to the point where the white boys was putting together peace treaties because they couldn't win. They couldn't beat them. You all need to study. They couldn't beat them. They couldn't beat our men, our women that were going back to the plantation, burning it down. Those white folks were scared. They were scared, family. So let's not act like that. And even when Dr. King, let's fast forward to the civil rights movement. I hope that we understand that his nonviolent approach was a strategy to accomplish goals that he had in mind. And he did accomplish his goals. Whether we agree with what his goals were or not, the fact remains that he used his nonviolent approach as a strategy to accomplish what he wanted. But you better read his books, because those brothers had guns. They had guns. Dr. King and them used to have guns in their pews. One time, Dr. King had to apologize to one of his visitors because when the guy sat down, it was a big shotgun in the seat. So don't act like these weren't men that were weak and cowards. These men were armed. They just chose nonviolence. And it wasn't all of them that chose nonviolence. Shout out to Kwame Ture. You better research Kwame Ture or research the Black Panther Party. Everybody didn't take the nonviolent approach. You better read some of Malcolm X's speeches. Everybody wasn't on the nonviolent kick. And so let's not act like our ancestors were weak. Let's kill that narrative. I also saw memes that said, yeah, we're not the turn the other cheek. We're not the turn the other cheek generation. That's what they said. We're not the turn the other cheek generation. Shout out to the 55,000 people in the building. Family, thumb up the video. Also share this video on your social media pages and in your family and friends group chats, family. So some of the captions on these videos said, we're not the turn the other cheek generation. We're not the turn the other cheek generation. There has never been an entire generation since we've been here on the shores of America, an entire generation that just turned the other cheek. It's never been that. But you know what I'm learning is when your history, when your knowledge of our history is limited to the civil rights movement, this is what you would think, right? But that's not the case. There has never, and I want you all to quote me on this. There has never been a generation in America since we've been here that simply just turned the other cheek and just went along to get along. That's never happened, family. In the history of America, we've always fought. And that's why you and I are here today, where we are today. Never been. No, I disagree. You said Black Christians are the turn the cheek generation. When you think, first of all, define generation. Everyone in that generation was not Christian. You're saying the Black Christians are the turn. Well, explain Nat Turner, because Nat Turner was a Black Christian. And he gathered men together, galvanized folks, and went out there from plantation. You need to take a trip to Southampton, Virginia, and tell Brother Khalifa that Dr. Maat suggested that you come out there. He was a Christian. Shout out to, you better think about, I think Denmark Vesey and them. They think about Denmark Vesey and them. They were, let's not act like the Christians. Let's see, you better study your history, brother. You better study your history, Van Man. You bet no. You better study your history, brother. Nat Turner was a Christian. I believe that Denmark Vesey was a preacher too. It was a lot of preachers, brother. And they was ready. They were out there killing white folks, going from plantation to plantation. That's what they were doing. Now, you tell me how many white folks, how many heads you've taken, brother. You tell me how many heads you've taken in 2023. Because these men were out here putting in that work. So I want you to post a link and show us, Van Man. I want you to post us a link of you putting in that work. Let's not now down the Black Christian church. You know, the Black Christian church were the first people to establish the Black communities. Remember, post-Civil War, when General Sherman met with the Black men, what Black men did he meet with? He met with Black ministers. And he asked the Black ministers, what do you want? They said, give us land. See, the Black ministers in the Black church were responsible for establishing some of the first Black communities, some of those mutual aid funds, Black banks, Black schools. So you might want to be careful. Those Black churches, when we were galvanizing and going out and doing slave revolts, we were planning in the Black church. Don't do it, Van. Don't do it. Someone said deacons of defense. Don't do it. Don't do it, brother. You better read your history. Let's not be so dismissive of the Black church. You better read Blueprint for Black Power. I'll help you out. Read Blueprint for Black Power by Dr. Amos Wilson. He talks about the Black church in his book. Okay, so read that. I'll help you out. And like Fresh said, study the deacons of defense. Study Nat Turner, Denmark Vesey and them. I think Denmark Vesey was a preacher. Hold on. Was he a preacher? Tell me in the chat if I got it right or wrong. I'm thinking about Denmark Vesey and I'm thinking about Gabriel Prosser, but I always mix them up. So at Denmark Vesey, it says carpenter. No. Success slave. His plans call for his followers. 18th century. Here it is. Let me see. It says Black community leader in Charleston, South Carolina, who was accused and convicted of leading a planned slave revolt. Though he alleged he was discovered before it was realized. Yeah, this happened in Charleston, but I'm wondering, I think he was a preacher. I'm looking. I don't want to keep looking. All right, hold on, family. I'm looking right now. He bought his freedom, blah, 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 blah. It says he had belonged, to a Second Presbyterian church and chafed against the restriction on black members in 1818 after becoming a freedman. He was among the founders of a congregation on what was known as the Bethel Circuit of the African Methodist, the AME. Yes, and they organized that. And it says the AME Church in Charleston was supported by a leading white clergy. It says in 1818, white authorities briefly ordered the church closed. Okay, so he was a part of that. I knew he was somewhere tied into that. He co-founded, and thank you so much, Brother Fresh. Thank you so much. He co-founded the church. Okay. All right, so let's get off of that. Just do some research, brother. And so anyway, family, I know that he kind of derailed me, but we need to kill that narrative and stop acting like all black Christians turned the other cheek, because that wasn't the case. And as soon as you mention Nat Turner, no one has anything to say, right? Because Nat Turner was a preacher who went around plantations and he killed those white folks, right? And galvanized black men and women with them. So study Nat Turner, all right? Study Nat Turner. So let's kill that narrative that black Christians, all they do is turn the other cheek. All right, family. So anyway, I want to get back to this because a lot of young people are like taking credit for this brawl. We're not our ancestors. We're not the turn the other cheek generation. I want you all to look at the video on how it got started. And I want y'all to look at who's on the ship filming, right? And then we're going to look at who was fighting, okay? We're going to look at who is filming, and then we're going to look at who's fighting, because you got a lot of these, I don't know if they're millennials or Gen X's, Gen Z's, Gen X's, I can't keep up. But a lot of them are online. Yeah, we ain't like that. This is our generation. Let's slow down. It was one 16-year-old that swam across, and that boy was a hero. Shout out to that young man, right? And what he did. And I wish we could duplicate more warriors like him. But let's not get it twisted. It was one, okay? But let's look at who was recording. And then let's look at who was recording. And thank you so much, Yasmin Bell. Marcus Garvey was a Christian too. So let's not get that twisted, Van Man. So let's look at who's recording on this ship, and then on the riverboat, and then let's look and see who put in the work. Here we go. Let me do this. Let me refresh.
Guy in the white shirt is crew from our little dinner cruise.
I don't know why when I refreshed that it did that. So let me click on it. See if I can enlarge it. Let me enlarge it. And go here. You should have saw it. Look who's recording, and look at who threw hands. So this generation, y'all got to cut it out. Oh yeah, we put in that work. Most of y'all don't even know how to throw a punch. I've seen the fights. I've seen the fight videos. You can't throw a punch because you're not from the generation that fought. You're from the generation who go get guns and shoot each other. So let's cut it out. You're just not there. Here we go. Let's look at who's recording. Look at who's recording, family.
To go over there to move that black pontoon boat on his own, because those guys who parked there were told not to leave it there, and they left it there. So he's just pushing it off. That's funny. Took matters into his own hands. I love it.
So you hear that they're doing a bunch of yelling and screaming. That's all they're doing. The security guy is clearly an older gentleman, right? So you hear the younger generation, yeah, move that SHIT, yelling and screaming, and they're getting ready to take their phones out. That's what this generation will do. They'll record and upload stuff on the internet, right? So that's what they did. Let's keep looking at it. So the older gentleman, he tried to move the boat out the way. They're getting ready to put in that work. He turned his head to the back, his head to the back. Look at that. He about to put that work in, but let's see who's recording. Hope y'all looking. Look at this. These are all young people recording with taking their phones out. Taking their phones out, family. They're taking their phones out. Okay? So I hope that you saw that. So he's not Dr. Maat is just not making this up. You can pause it. You can go back and rewind it. You saw a whole bunch of young people taking their cell phones out and recording, right? That one 16-year-old, the one 16-year-old was the one that he was the one that jumped over and helped out. But did you see the vast majority of the young people were doing what? The vast majority of the young people, hold on. The vast majority of the young people, look on the balcony. The vast majority of the young people were filming. Now, if you look at these men and their bodies, those were pop-pop bodies. I'm going to say it again. Those were pop-pop bodies. That wasn't no 15, 16, 17-year-olds, 18, 19-year-old men out there fighting. Those men look to be about between 30, and we already know the oldest one was in his 60s, because I'm gonna show that next. They were in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. These were pop-pops. Here it is. Look at that. Those are pop-pops. Look at it. That's not no that's not no 20. These aren't 20-year-old people out here talking, yeah, our generation, we put in that work. Look at this generation. These are pop-pops. Someone said, one youngster said they fitting to go to jail. See, Fresh said, damn, big facts. Exactly. Look at them, the guy with the chair. These aren't young people fighting. This the older generation putting in work. That's not the young people. The only young person was the 16-year-old. The only young person was the 16-year-old. Wait till it shows the video again. It's going to show the guys coming down. These were all pop-pops. Look at the video, y'all. Look at the video. These are older gentlemen that fought. And so you got the younger generation on here. Yeah, man, we ain't our ancestors, man. We put in that work. No, look at it. Here it goes right here. Hold on. It's getting ready to do it again. He threw the hat. He hitting the pull. So again, it's an older gentleman throwing the hat up, putting in the work. The older gentleman's putting in that work. They start to bank him. Boom, boom. They're banking him. The young warrior jumping in the pool. He getting ready to jump in the water. The young warrior getting ready to jump in the water and swim over to help his co-worker. But look at the guy that even ran down the walkway. Look at all the guys that's running. Those are pop-pops. Look how slow they was running. Look at the pop-pops running. Those are pop-pops running. Look up top, y'all. Look up top. Those are pop-pops. Look at the guys running. You can see they running slow. They trying to get. These weren't young people. This wasn't a young person's brawl. Now, some of them whites looked a little younger. But for the most part, these were pop-pops. Hold on. Look at them. And now it's on, right? But look at these bodies right here. Hold on, y'all. Look at them. Look at them. These aren't no 20-year-olds scrapping. These are 30-year-olds. Look at them. 30, 40, 30 and 40. Those pop-pop. That's a pop-pop body right there. That's not no 20-year-old dude fighting. It's not no 20-year-old guy. And you all telling me, we ain't our generation. We ain't the turn. Your generation can't fight. That's why you all go get guns. You're not even from the generation that fight. Y'all don't do that anymore. You bank people. You bank people, right? That's what you do. You bank or you go get a gun. Or if you're at the party fighting, y'all throwing wild punches. You don't know how to punch. You're punching like this. You're windmilling people, right? You're hitting the wrong people. You're shooting the wrong people. And you online talking about this our generation, trying to take credit for this work. Your generation don't put in no work like that. And I know y'all probably, Dr. Maat is getting on this generation. I'm telling you what I have observed. What work have y'all put in? You record. That's what this generation does. Look at them. Look at them. Look at them right here. Look at them. They're recorded. And look at Pop-Pop. That's somebody's granddaddy right there. These are granddads right here. These are granddaddies right here, putting in that work. The chairman, that's a Pop-Pop. That's a granddaddy. That's a granddaddy right there. And I agree. Fresh said, Pop should be a general, not a foot soldier. I agree. But these are the Pops putting in work. These aren't the 20-year-olds. We see the 20-year-olds, what they doing. They on the riverboat recording. Look at them. They on the riverboat recording and uploading on social media. They not out there with the police throwing blows and trying to stop nothing. That's Pop right there with the hat on. These are Pops. Look at them. Look at the bodies. Look at them. This not no young man out here. These aren't young people. Mugabe, let me know who's that. Mugabe, let me know which generation is that. Is that our generation, Mugabe? Let me know, Mugabe, is that our generation? Let me know. So it's no disrespect, but let's be honest here. You know, we got to be honest, you know, when we in our analysis, man. We got to be honest with our analysis. That's all Dr. Maat is saying. Let's not get it twisted, right? Like, you know, that 16-year-old, and shout out to that 16-year-old, he put in work. I'm not discrediting, and I don't want y'all to take a clip of me talking about this and saying, oh, she's trying to discredit this generation. No. That 16-year-old, he's a hero. I'm glad that people are cash apping him as they should. I'm glad that people are celebrating him as they should. I'm talking about the folks that are taking it to the next level, saying things like, we aren't our ancestors. We ain't the turn of generation. We ain't the turn of cheek generation, and trying to take credit for the Pops, the 30, 40, 50, 60-year-olds that were out there putting in work. The younger generation was on the riverboat recording, and they were on the deck. They were out on the deck hanging off recording. That's what the younger generation was doing. And they was uploading the content to social media while the Pops, while the dads and the Pops were out there putting in work. And let's be honest, this generation, a lot of them do not know how to fight. Our generation, we spoiled them, family. We spoiled them. I see it in my family. We spoiled them. We spoiled them. They didn't have to grow up rough and tough and around the way. They born, you know, with a nice house and a car outside, and then we raise them, and then he turn around and tell us we ain't do nothing for them. That's this generation. Oh, y'all ain't. I did it on my own, you know. But they never mind the years of food, clothing, shelter, education, and, you know, never mind that stuff. And so this is that generation. Can't fight. They travel in packs. It's really scary. They have a very hard exterior, but very soft, very mouthy, but won't really do anything, right? Talk a lot of stuff, but they not going to buck. That's not this generation. And it's no diss. It's no diss. I've seen the videos. It's no diss. They just not really thorough like that. And I get it. We spoiled them. And so anyway, family, I did hear that there was some charges that were brought up. Someone said Jason Black was showing shade at the older generation. They always do. I'm not even surprised, Van Man. I'm not surprised. Van Man said, he said Gen Z is sugary. You ain't lying about that. Y'all don't want to tell you what they don't want to do. And I really, really hope, Mugabe, I pray that they don't come on my post or come on this video talking smack, because I will go live and start showing clips of how this generation get down. And Van Man, you're not lying. A lot of them are very sugary. I got receipts. I got females from this generation that have told me stories. I'm not going to get into it, but they told me stories of how these guys get down. They're very fluid. That's all I'm going to say. And you can read between the lines. And I've heard this from some of my young female students that said, Doc, I had to stop messing with this dude because he had a little sugar in his tank. He asked me to do this. I was uncomfortable. So I just pray that they don't come on my post talking trash, because I don't want to go in. I don't want to go in, Mugabe. I don't want to do it. I'll bring some girls from this generation that'll tell you how some of these guys get down out here. They're very fluid. That's all I'm going to say. And so anyway, family, I did hear that there was some people that did get arrested. Okay. And shout out to Sister Vicky Dillard. Sister Vicky Dillard is encouraging Black people to show up and show out. I believe that people are organizing to go down there for these trials, right? To go down there for these trials. If you can't make it to the trial, what they're asking people, black people who are on these juries, to make sure that all black people stay on code, right? This was clearly a sign of, this was clearly self-defense, okay? They were banking that man. Black people showed up and showed out. That's what it was. It was self-defense. And you already know black people don't bother nobody. We're not those type of people. We're not like that. Black folks, we bother other black folks. We don't bother white folks. We bother other black folks. So black folks were minding their business. But when they saw that, all of those black folks got on code, family. They all got on code. And it was a beautiful moment. And that's what we're all celebrating. It was a beautiful moment. And so with people, with our black voices, people, our black voices and our black spaces, people are saying, let's continue to be on code. So if you're down in Alabama, and let's say that you get picked for a jury or something like that to serve as a juror for one of these cases, make sure that you're on code. White folks do it all the time. Make sure that you're on code. And also when they go to court or when they go to trial, we need to be down there in droves. We need to be down there in droves. I'm prepared to go. I'll get my ticket in a heartbeat. I have no problem showing up. So I'm not asking you to do something that I'm not even planning on doing. So I told them, hey, if we organize and we get something popping, we can go down there right to the courthouse and we can all be outside. I'm with it. And making sure that these people get a fair trial and for them to know that they're supported. I'm all for it. But we need to get on code and this needs to happen, family. This needs to happen. And so anyway, family, moving on to my next topic, we got to get to DeSantis. We got to get to DeSantis. So DeSantis, he strikes again. DeSantis actually suspended Florida's only black female state attorney. And his reason was, he said, her particular office, or I guess her office, they weren't prosecuting enough people. But you know what that really means, right? When we read between the lines. Do you think that DeSantis is interested in locking up a bunch of white folks, so-called white folks? And we got to get into the habit of saying so-called, because we know that that's just a social construct that they made up, right? We know that they're just European or Euro-Americans. That's what they really are, right? And so anyway, the Satan, and I got that. Shout out to brother Rashard of the Undisputed or Undisputable. And so he called him the Satan. So I said, let me call him the Satan, because that's who he is, the Satan. So the Satan fired her. He basically said, well, she's not prosecuting enough people. But if we apply critical thinking to that statement, what he meant was they're not prosecuting enough black people. And see, what DeSantis is doing is turning Florida into a model state, right, for whiteness. I'm going to say that again. DeSantis is turning Florida into a model state of or for whiteness. What is Dr. Maat saying? What is Dr. Maat saying right here? Well, first of all, you know that he passed the Stop Woke Act in 2022, which banned the teaching of African-American, AP African-American course. And we know that he eliminated a lot of books. There were books that were taken off the shelves in schools and in bookstores, so certain books got banned. We also know that recently he mandated a standard in Florida. He mandated some standard that stated that black folks, they want teachers in Florida to now teach that black people benefited from slavery. That is what this particular standard is going to teach in Florida public food systems, right? That black people benefited from slavery, because prior to slavery, black people had no skills. They had no skills. That's what he's saying, right? And as Baba Amin said, that premise the premise or the foundation of his thought comes from the idea that we were savages before white folks came over to civilize the world. The whole world was savages until white folks until we came in contact with white folks. And that's what he honestly believes. But they're getting ready to teach that to another generation. So now there's going to be slavery benefited black people because black people didn't have skills before black folks came to America. They're also getting ready to teach within that same standard that no one questioned slavery prior to the American Revolution that took place in 1776. Well, then if no one, then why did people run away? Why did people run away? Why did some people kill themselves on the slave ships? Why did some people commit suicide? Why did some people throw their children out of the window? Shout out to Segmet. My aunt was with me when we were in Jamaica. We were at the Annie Palmer plantation, and they talked about how sometimes the black women threw their babies out the window because they didn't want their Wait a minute. What you mean nobody questioned it? We questioned it to the point where we took action. And this is before 1776. Before 1776, family. And so anyway, the Satan now is he's getting ready to turn Florida into a police state. My brothers and sisters who live in Florida, that's what's happening right now. He's firing the black female state attorney, because what they're going to start doing is prosecuting more black people. I guarantee you it's going to be on minor offenses. So here comes the mass incarceration of black people all over again, right in Florida. It's happening, family. It's getting ready to happen. Let's check out the interview.
Central Floridians woke up this morning with the news of the person who they elected by almost 67% of the vote in 2020 is no longer the state attorney. Why? Because the dictator in Florida, Ron DeSantis, has suspended Monique Worrell from her position. Why? Well, he claims that she wasn't doing her job. She wasn't prosecuting crimes. Listen to this BS he said today.
The state of Florida is a law and order state, and that means we support the men and women who wear the uniform, who protect and serve. It means we have strong policies to hold criminals.
Well, he said Florida is a law and order state. How many people saw the 13th Amendment on Netflix? Put an ashe in the chat if you watched the documentary, The 13th Amendment. The 13th Amendment on Netflix. And it talked about how, after a while, politicians couldn't outwardly, say racist things, right? But law and order was code word for, locking up black people. Put an ashe in the chat. Put an ashe in the chat if you know what Dr. Maat is saying. Put an ashe in the chat if you understand what Dr. Maat is saying. Law and order. That's the verbiage that President Nixon used to get elected. And then you heard other presidents say, they were running on law and order. That means lock Negroes up. That means lock Negroes up. Here we go, family.
Accountable for their misconduct. Prosecutors have a duty to faithfully enforce the law. One's political agenda cannot trump this solemn duty. Refusing to faithfully enforce the laws of Florida puts our communities in danger and victimizes innocent Floridians. Accordingly, I am today announcing the suspension of State Attorney Monique Worrell from the 9th Judicial Circuit, effective immediately. I'm appointing Judge Andrew Bain to take over as State Attorney for the 9th Judicial Circuit. Judge Bain is currently a judge in Orlando. He is a native Floridian. He attended University of Miami, where he played football, and he received his law degree from Florida A&M Law School. And I trust that he will be a prosecutor that faithfully enforces the law and will keep the communities of Central Florida safe. Monique Worrell's administration of criminal justice in the 9th Circuit has been clearly and fundamentally derelict so as to constitute both neglect of duty and incompetence. The policies or practices listed in our executive order suspending her that constitutes the grounds of suspension are as follows. One, a pattern or practice to avoid minimum mandatory sentences for gun crimes, pattern or practice to avoid minimum mandatory sentences for drug trafficking offenses, pattern and practice allowing juvenile offenders to avoid serious charges and incarceration altogether, pattern or practice to avoid valid and applicable sentencing enhancements, pattern or practice limiting charges for child pornography, pattern or practice for seeking withholding of adjudication in situations not permitted.
Warning, you could soon lose your job because of what's happening inside this building you see behind me.
Under Florida law.
If you want to see someone who is arrogant and shameless, it is Ron DeSantis. He says politics not involved. Every action he has taken is directly tied to politics. Remember, he suspended Andrew Warren last year. Warren lost his case to be reinstated in June. Again, now he's claiming that, Worrell is not doing her job, even though what she was doing is what she ran on, and the voters clearly said they wanted to see that. Monique Worrell joins us right now from Orlando. Glad to have you here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. You said in your news conference today, y'all have been waiting for this to happen.
Yeah, good evening, Roland. Thanks for having me. It's good to be back with you. And this is the day that we've been waiting for. It's the day that we've been talking about for months now.
And so he lays out, all blah, 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 blah. Oh, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. And he actually says incompetence. But the things that you were doing as the state attorney, you ran on. So it seems as if Central Floridians were fine with that because you got almost 67% of the vote. You dusted.
Did y'all hear this? This is a Black woman who ran, and she got 67% of the vote, which means that the people of Florida wanted her to be in that position, and they supported what she proposed. And she did not propose locking up a bunch of people. What she proposed was alternatives to incarceration. So if you are a nonviolent offender, instead of sending you to prison, wait a minute, let's do other things, right? Maybe let's put you in a program. Let's present other alternatives than other than to put you in prison and lock you up, right? That's what she proposed. And 67% of Floridians said they supported that position. Here we go.
Your opponent.
Yeah, the thing that I was doing is exactly the thing that I ran and was elected to do. And, it's dereliction of duties because it doesn't align with the governor's politics. So I think it's very hypocritical for him to get up there and say that politics has no place in law and order, because this is all about politics. This is all about his opportunity to restore a failed presidential campaign.
So this judge comes in, he immediately gets rid of your two lieutenants. And my understanding, he brings in as the number two, the person you beat, or the person who came in fourth place. So a loser who the voters didn't want is now the number two in your office?
That is absolutely correct. It's strange how these things work. After I was elected, I met with Ryan Williams because he wanted to be my number two. And I guess he decided that he was going to become my number two one way or the other, with or without me. He was going to be number two in that office, and he has succeeded.
And again, what this replacement has done, he's now gotten rid of diversionary programs, the different sort of tactics that you and other states' attorneys have done to minimize folks actually going to jail, because it's been costing taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars to imprison people. And so you put in practices that frankly are saving folks money, and individuals who frankly should not be in jail. You're creating different pathways to still hold them accountable.
That's right, Roland. It's not only saving taxpayers' dollars, but it's diverting people from prison who don't belong there. Prison is for people who pose a danger to our society. And the individuals who go through our diversionary programs are not going for violent offenses. And if the governor was really so concerned about community safety, why does he continue to enact laws that are contrary to public safety? We are now a state that has no restrictions for carrying firearms. So anyone can.
Are you all listening to this? So this sister created programs for non-violent offenders, right? Because she's right. You would want to put people in jail who are a danger to society, right? Like you lock them up, you isolate them, you put them away, right? And that's what she's saying. She's saying that the people who took advantage of her programs were non-violent offenders. And so instead of sending them to prison, they went through her programs. And like I said, like she said, to still hold them accountable for what they did, right? And then she said that now, not only is Florida a open carry state, you don't even need a daggone license to roll around with your gun. We're going to start seeing a lot of things, family. I'm telling you. Hold on. She's getting ready to break it down. Here we go.
We are now a state that has no restrictions for carrying firearms. So anyone can get a firearm. You don't have to get a permit. It's a permitless carry state where we've already seen an increase in gun violence in our communities. There are now more, not less guns, and there will continue to be more guns because every time you loosen the restrictions, people buy more guns. And these are the things that are a danger to our community, not pretrial diversion.
So I'm confused. Last I checked, and I've covered city council, I've covered county government, I've covered state politics. Prosecutors have prosecutorial discretion. You don't have to do what a DA in another area does, nor do you have to do what the governor says. You get to make the independent decision as to how to prosecute cases in your area, correct?
Well, obviously that's not correct anymore under this regime of this dictator. Prosecutorial discretion is under attack here in the state of Florida, but throughout the nation. And this has become a really hot button for political extremists to target individuals who realize that over-incarceration, mass incarceration does not build public safety. Programs and diversionary opportunities increase public safety because they build stronger, safer communities.
What's next? Do you plan to file suit against the governor?
So I have a legal team that has been assembled and they are looking at the executive order, and we will be meeting to discuss our next steps in that regard.
This has an economic impact. You discussed at the news conference. You're suspended. You don't get paid.
No, so it's interesting, right? When law enforcement officers get caught in wrongful activity, they get suspended with pay while the investigation takes place. That is not the case for Andrew Warren or myself now that have been suspended. We get paid for the last day that we worked. Our medical benefits will terminate. And, my family's going to have to figure that out. There is a grave economic impact, and my kids are supposed to start school tomorrow. They don't deserve this.
What do you say to the voters, and what is the community saying? Again, it's not like you won 51-49. I mean, you won with more than 2/3 of the vote.
Well, unfortunately, if you are in a blue county in this state, your vote doesn't matter. And that's exactly what the governor has shown us by the removal of Andrew Warren, by my removal, and by the removal of all the other Democrats that he has removed in his tenure as governor. Our democracy is under attack, and it doesn't matter.
Now, I had to stop this. When I was in bed and I was watching this clip, she said our democracy is under attack. Family, I'm getting ready to do a show. I remember I told you I'm going to shut down for about a week for some self-care, but I'm going to do a show entitled Exploding the European Myths. See, we bought into that. Democracy is a myth. We don't live in a democratic society. There's no such thing as democracy. That is a myth. Let's get that straight. Oh, the majority rules. We don't live. How you say the white folks are the majority? Can I get an ashe in the chat if you understand what I'm saying to you? So-called white people have a population monopoly. Somebody read Dr. Claude Anderson's book, Powernomics. He breaks that down beautifully. They have a population monopoly. So we're in a country where so-called whites are the majority, and you're telling me, well, we live in a democratic society. It's democracy. We live in a democratic society. The majority rules. Well, if you're saying the majority rules, then you're telling me that the so-called white folks are going to rule. Come on now, family. Ashe, KC, Nancy, a beautiful mind, B. Brun. Come on, family. So when she said our democracy is under attack, I said, oh, I said she bought into that myth of democracy. Democracy is a myth. Here we go.
If you agree with me or don't, it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican. Our democracy is under attack.
I don't know why this thing just went down. Let me refresh.
Attention retirees,
refresh.
If you're willing to be at your computer from 9 a.m. to 10:45.
In 2020, it's no longer.
There will continue to be more.
Have to do.
So I have a legal enforcement officer. Medical benefits will. Well, unfortunately, if you are in, governor has shown us by the removal of Andrew Warren, by my removal, and by the removal of all the other Democrats that he has removed in his tenure as governor, our democracy is under attack. And it doesn't matter if you agree with me or don't. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican. Our democracy is under attack. And this man is running to be the next president of the United States. We have to stand together, everyone who believes in democracy, to stop that from happening.
The campaign, first of all, your term is up next year. Are you running for re-election?
I am absolutely running for re-election, and I encourage people to go to my website, MoniqueForStateAttorney.com, to find out more about me and to support my campaign for re-election.
When Tennessee Republicans did the exact same thing, removing Representative Justin Pearson and Justin Jones, Vice President Kamala Harris came down there. There were a lot of people who were organizing. Do you want to see national Democrats put this on the radar and come down to support you, to support Warren and other Democrats who are under constant assault by dictator Ron DeSantis?
Yeah, so absolutely. And again, this isn't about Monique Worrell, right? Monique Worrell is the name that we're discussing today, but this is about democracy. This is about individuals going to the voting booth, making their votes, and then having their votes stripped away from them because other individuals put themselves in positions that allows them to remove democratically elected public officials. Our democracy is at stake, and everyone needs to be in support of holding on to democracy.
Last question I have for you. Andrew Gillum lost by 30,000 votes to Ron DeSantis. There were very low numbers in Broward County, Miami-Dade County. I keep saying to people, don't bitch and moan today about what Ron DeSantis is doing if you did not vote in 2020. The fact of the matter is, if enough folks had properly...
Now, folks, I'm sorry. I know that some of you feel some type of way about Roland Martin, but we cannot negate the importance of voting definitely on a state level, right? Voting for your judges, your state's attorneys. Come on now. Come on now, family. That's it. That's important. Voting on the state level is important. And a lot of people don't. And that's what he's getting ready to speak to. Here we go.
And voted, DeSantis would never be the governor, and you would not be in the situation. This is why votes, not just in your race, but the top of the ticket all the way down, is critical.
Yeah, I've been telling people elections have consequences, and we are suffering the consequences of our actions in 2020. And we need to remember that as the ballot boxes open again in 2024. And this isn't just about me. It's about what's happened at the federal level. It's about what's happening on the Supreme Court. It's about what's happening here in the state of Florida. We are suffering the consequences of our actions, and we dare not do that again.
Monique, we appreciate you joining us. Keep us abreast of what happens down there. It is shameful that you have to go through this, but this is the kind of stuff that we've seen, whether it's the attacks on CRT, the attacks on DEI, the attacks on professors. At the end of the day, what you have is you have an absolute dictator there, a person who also drew his own congressional districts, cutting in half the black representation in Florida as well. And I would say to anybody African-American and anybody else who's not African-American, if you don't like this, you cannot sit at home and be quiet.
That's right. It's time to stand, because if we don't, we're going to lose what our ancestors have fought and died for.
Now she has a point when she said that. Now, I do appreciate, and I see 42 tribes. 42 tribes said, where's 42 tribes? I try to get 42. 42 tribes said, our actions, we don't vote Republican. We are suffering regardless of who is in office. I do agree with that. But something you else said, you said 42 tribes. You said, agreed, I'm pro-voting, but I wouldn't vote for Biden. I don't blame you. I didn't vote for Biden either. I wouldn't dare vote for Biden. Brother Wale said, our democracy. I laughed when she said that myself, Baba Wale, when she said, our democracy. I was like, what? Like, we ain't got no democracy. We live in a country where they convinced us that, you know, we're part of the majority and we're not, right? And so the majority rules. White folks are the majority. So let's cut it, right? Let's cut it. We've bought into this bipartisan government that we have, these bipartisan parties that we have. We've bought into it. And so I do agree with you, 100 Black. He said that she was repeating a lot of Democratic jargon. And I agree. 2000, here it is, right here. He says she is quoting Democrat jargon. Other than that, she needs to be heard. And I agree. She sounds like a typical Democrat. She absolutely does. And shout out to the brother right here, B. Brun. He said, God bless us. I live in Florida and it's rough. He said, and crucial down here. Pray for us. I also work for the public school system, public schools. He said it's getting more real out here for our folks. And yeah, and I talked to Dr. Naeem Akbar. He told me the same thing. He's in Tallahassee. And he told me the same thing, that is real in Florida right now. I mean, to the point where the NAACP issued a warning. They don't want Black people traveling to Florida right now. They issued, something saying that they don't want us in Florida. And so it's definitely getting real fast in Florida. And this is what I want to say, family. I remember our leaders, and I'm getting ready to close. I remember our leaders used to say, if Black folks don't pay attention, we are going to find ourselves right back in slavery. That's what they used to say. If we don't pay attention and make different decisions, other moves, we're going to find ourselves right back in slavery. And I know when they said that, people thought, oh, are they talking about chattel slavery? What are they talking about? They're talking about being back in a situation where we have zero control. You have zero control, you're a slave. When you have zero control, zero power, you're a slave. You're a slave. When you're totally dependent upon something, you are a slave. And our revolutionaries used to say, man, if Black folks don't get it together, we're going to find ourselves right back in slavery. And they didn't mean on the plantations, right? The agricultural plant. We're not even in that system anymore. We're undergoing a technological revolution right now. So they're not talking about literally you're going to be on a plantation working from Kansas to Kansas. Not that type of slavery. Slavery to the degree where you don't have any power. You don't have any control. You're totally dependent on this system. That's a slave. And to be honest with you, we damn near their family. And so we got to be careful. And I remember Mammy Till said this. Mammy Till said this. And shout out to Bruce Lee. He said real talk. Mammy Till said this. She said, before she sent Emmett Till, right? Because they were in Chicago and they went down south. She said before she sent him off, she said she used to hear about, she used the word Negro. She said, I used to hear about Negroes in the South getting lynched. And she said she used to feel like that was their problem until her son got lynched in Mississippi. So then she changed her tune. I don't want us to be Mammy Tills in 2023, where we're saying that's just Florida's issue. No, Florida issue is our issue, because if it's happening in Florida, sooner or later it's going to happen in California. Sooner or later it's going to happen in Illinois. Sooner or later it's going to happen in Georgia. Sooner or later it's going to happen in North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, New York, Maryland. Come on, y'all. So it's not just their problem in Florida. It's our problem. And so Black folks need to wake up, and we need to wake up fast. Family, take a moment out to thumb up this video. Thumb up this video, family. Thumb up this video. Also, family, share this discussion. I went in today. This was a powerful discussion. I was reading the chat and responding to the chat. Family, make sure that you share this discussion on all your family group chats, your friend group chats. your social media chats. Let's get the views up, family. Let's get the views up. Let's get the information out, because that's what it's about. Let's get the information out, family. Thank you so much for tuning in, family. And if you didn't watch my previous discussions, I just had a dynamite debate with Brother Ankh and the Brother Chief a few days ago. I had a dynamite discussion with Baba Amin and Sister Kia and Brother Knowledge Born. Make sure that you check out my previous discussions, family, because I'm getting ready to shut down for a week. I won't be live again until probably like the 21st or the 22nd, family. All right. So make sure that you subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so that anytime I go live, you receive a notification. Also, family, make sure that you check me out on Instagram. I do have an IG page. I do have a Facebook page. I also have a Twitter page. So make sure that you connect with me on there. I don't like to say follow me because I don't want anybody to follow me. I want us to connect and I want us to build our Ashe. So make sure, family, that you check me out, all right? And I'll probably be going live on my IG page, but I will not be live on YouTube for another week, maybe a week and a half. All right? So again, family, make sure that you subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell before you get out of here. Make sure that you thumb up the video, and then you each one teach one by simply sharing the link, right? In 2023, that's all we had to do. We could get the word out by simply sharing. Again, family, thank you so much for tuning in. I began with this song, Freedom, and I'm going to close with this song, Freedom, because ultimately that's what I want for our people. Ultimately, that's what I want, family, for our people. All right? It's full and complete freedom. Right now, we're living under the illusion of freedom. We think we're free. We think we're free. But you clearly see what's happening in Florida, right? You saw what happened to that state's attorney. So don't run around here telling me that Black people are free. Miss me with that, right? But what I wish for our people is full and complete freedom. So I began with this song. I'm going to end with this song. Thank you so much for tuning in. Uhuru Sasa. Say it with me, family. Uhuru Sasa. Uhuru Sasa. Freedom now. A BB Fahodie. African liberation. Peace and Black power.
See, I may not know the color of the sand on Mars, but brother, I can tell you why the cage bird sings no matter what the weather brings. 'Cause he can fly. Oh, and so can I.
And even though he cries his tears, the words he sings you may not hear. He sees the sunlight like his own, his soul got him home.
Now I can't fight no wars for money, ego or pride. I pray one day love becomes the bullet that just blows the world away, and we say freedom. Oh, freedom. Freedom. All the blues and bitter rain, I know that somehow seasons change. The color purple has a way of blessing us with better days. We've gotta heal, sister, for real.
Inside of each and every one lies the memories of where we're from. Pyramids amongst the stars is who we are.
Keep in mind the only jail is just the prison of ourselves. The truth lies in our footsteps, so we must never look away. We must pray freedom. Oh, freedom. Freedom.
It's alright to love yourself. It's alright to love your brothers. It's alright to love yourself. It's alright to love each other. It's okay to love yourself. It's okay to love your brothers. It's okay to love yourself. It's okay to love each other. It's alright to love yourself. It's alright to